There is a lot of anxiety, basically heightened for this particular election.
Ballots go out to Colorado voters in about a week. Election leaders are taking additional steps to try and keep workers and voters safe this election.
A lot of this, I think, is still a little bit in play.
There's a lot to decide on beyond the top of the ballot. Who to send to the nation's capital to represent Colorado, and who do you want in the State House and Senate, as well as numerous questions to change state laws and figure out what to do with your money.
Yeah, it'd be definitely like a financial relief.
We're guiding you through the myriad decisions you'll have to make.
El Paso County is changing.
We need to get out there and talk to the people and win some elections.
This is News 5 after the debate.
This is KOAA News 5 Special Edition.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us for this special edition of News 5 after the vice presidential debate. I'm Allison Zimmerman. Over the next half hour, we're going to be taking a look at some of the big stories that we're covering in the coming weeks. As ballots are set to go out October 11th, News 5 wants you to understand everything on your ballot from the presidential race to your local ballot issues. Here's a quick look at some of the stories we're watching. U.S. House races, CU Regents, and State Board of Education seats are all on the ballot. State General Assembly elections for State Senate and State House. Your district attorneys, also something you're going to be voting on. And at the hyper-local level, there are also county commission seats, and some places have town council elections, like Monument and Palmer Lake. Now, some ballots are already on their way to military and overseas voters. The El Paso County Clerk and Recorder says his office sent out a little more than 6,000 of those ballots. Those voters have an 8-day extension to return their ballot, but it must be postmarked by 7 p.m. on Election Day. I should note, postmarks do not count for those of you here at home. And this election is expected to bring in a record number of voters. It's part of the reason why El Paso County Clerk and Recorder is activating the Office of Emergency Management. I sat down with him to learn more about why he feels this is a necessary move.
When I talk to my neighbors, family members, friends, voters here in the community, there is a lot of anxiety, basically heightened for this particular election.
The November election will be the first presidential election Clerk and Recorder Steve Schleicher is leading.
My duty as the Clerk and Recorder is to ensure a safe, fair, and secure election. And part of that is the safety not only of my staff, the safety of our 800 election judges that are going to be helping us out, but also the safety of all the voters that are going to be participating.
After being in office for more than a year and a half, he's seen numerous threats made towards election workers and has taken steps to add security for them.
They've, emailed me and said, Steve, I really want to be a part of this election, but I'm scared about my safety.
That's part of the reason he's now bringing in emergency managers. He says it's needed to ensure all workers are safe leading up to the election and until after the results are certified. Voters won't notice a big change whether they're voting in person or dropping off their ballot. But there have been instances causing concern for Schleicher with things that go beyond his typical duties as Clerk and Recorder. The OEM, for example, will provide hazmat resources, which may seem unusual for an election.
Because we have received 2 ballots that had, one of them in the March 5th presidential primary had blood all over it. And then the one in the last one, the June 25th, had urine all over it. You sit there and you just, through your head, you're just going, okay, where have we come as a society where you have to sit there and just do a blood-soaked ballot or a urine-soaked ballot as well, but in accordance with federal law, we still have to work that. And that is a big ask of my staff and also the election judges, but I will tell you is they did not gripe. We followed every protocol to ensure that voters' vote was counted.
In those cases, the ballots were reported to the district attorney's office for further investigation. As Schleicher's office prepares for the upcoming election, his belief is that by bringing in the OEM, he's taking a proactive approach.
My hopes are everything that we have done up to today and leading up to the election is for naught.
Schleicher said activating the OEM does not cost taxpayers additional money to run the election. There will be an added cost for law enforcement overtime, things like that, but he said most of that will be reimbursed by the state. Every one of us will have a U.S. House race on their ballot, as well as a state House race. We'll get to the congressional races in just a minute, but let's talk about the state capitol. Currently, Democrats hold a supermajority in the state House and a near supermajority in the state Senate. But there are some seats considered competitive here at home in southern Colorado. State Senate District 12, for example, which includes the southwestern parts of El Paso County, Old Colorado City, and the north side of downtown Springs, as well as Fountain. The redrawn district in 2021 has made it more competitive. State Representative Mark Snyder is the Democratic candidate, and El Paso County Commissioner Stan Vanderwerf is the Republican. It's just one of several races in our area we'll be watching closely. News 5, though, is actually going to be streaming some forums for some of our local General Assembly races. This Saturday, October 5th, is House District 18, followed by State Senate District 12 on the 14th. State Senate District 10 will happen on October 21st. All of these will be streamed on KOAA.com. It's a partnership with the League of Women Voters. To our congressional races now. All 3 U.S. House seats currently held by Republicans in Colorado are considered open this election. But are they actually competitive? I spoke with UCCS political science professor Sarah Hagedorn about this. Now, Congressional District 5, which includes most of El Paso County, has never been held by a Democrat.
So I think that's a really good question. A lot of this, I think, is still a little bit in play. I think CD5 is probably the least competitive race that we're looking at here in Colorado if we're looking at the 3, 4, and 5 kind of as our most competitive, throwing 8 in there as well as a really competitive race.
And speaking of Congressional District 8, that's in northern Colorado, is originally drawn as being a toss-up district in the state. Congresswoman Yadira Caraveo, a Democrat, will face Republican Gabe Evans in that race. One of the big questions in El Paso County: who will replace retiring Congressman Doug Lamborn? 6 candidates are going to appear on the ballot. There is also a write-in candidate. Republican Jeff Crank and Democrat River Gasson will appear at the top of the ballot. Here's a look at what they told us about themselves ahead of the June primary.
I want to make sure that every family has the right to practice their own personal values, so that way we can have economic stability and everything that a growing family needs to be able to thrive.
I'm going to Washington, D.C. to secure the border and to work hard to hold the Biden administration and Secretary Mayorkas accountable for their failure, their utter failure to control the border in the United States.
We're going to be hearing a lot more from these candidates on October 15th. I'll be moderating a Congressional District 5 debate between Crank and Gasson. News 5's Brett Forrest will be a panelist alongside Ernest Lunning from Colorado Politics and Brianna Jett from the Gazette. That debate will be live streamed right here on KOAA. A Colorado congressional district is one of the most expensive races in the country. District 3, which as you can see includes Pueblo and several other southern Colorado counties. Congresswoman Lauren Boebert was set to run for re-election until she decided to move to the 4th district. Her Democratic challenger in 2022, former Aspen City Councilman Adam Frisch, lost to her by about 500 votes. He's running again in hopes of flipping that seat. He's received millions of dollars in campaign donations prior to Boebert switching districts. Frisch will run against Republican attorney Jeff Hurd from Grand Junction. But a lot of eyes still on Boebert, who won the Republican nomination for District 4 in June amongst 5 other challengers. She's facing Democrat Tricia Calvarese. The two went head-to-head in a debate last month in Douglas County. The district is considered the safest Republican seat in the state. Recreational cannabis is on the ballot in Colorado Springs, but an ordinance by City Council could impact just where it could be sold. We're sorting through the competing ballot initiatives and the new rules after the break. Have we mentioned this election season that you're going to have a pretty lengthy ballot? Well, you are. And in Colorado Springs, there are 3 questions for voters. 2 of them are about the same topic: recreational cannabis. Colorado Springs City Council has passed an ordinance limiting where recreational cannabis could be sold. That is, if voters approve a measure on the upcoming ballot. The new zoning would limit sales within 1 mile of a school, child care facility, or drug and alcohol treatment center. Here's where it gets a little confusing, though. There are 2 ballot initiatives in Colorado Springs, one to allow the sale of recreational cannabis at medical cannabis shops in the Springs, and another initiative to ban the sale of recreational cannabis in the city's charter. News 5's Peter Choi spoke with an attorney representing dispensaries and someone who supports this recent move by City Council.
representing cannabis business in Colorado Springs since 2009.
We did pay the same price as some of it up here.
Attorney Clifton Black.
This is what we want. This is what we're going to do.
Is calling the city council vote
what I'm deeply concerned about is our
a de facto ban on recreational cannabis.
Because it virtually zones out the entire city from allowing these businesses.
He says passing the ordinance could cause a larger black market.
They need to make sure the marijuana is safe from pesticides, insecticides, mold, yeast, microbials. If they're going to push everybody to the black market, that is unsafe marijuana that people will be buying.
They passing this ordinance right before the November ballot. What do you think about that?
And I think that they're just taking the steps to ensure that whichever way this goes, that we're going to make sure that there are not shops, by our schools and treatment centers.
That's Diane Carlson, who's co-founder of an organization called One Chance to Grow Up.
And they are really intent on making sure that their communities are as safe as possible.
She's welcoming the new ordinance out of concern for cannabis' effect on children's health.
Someone that wants to get marijuana is going to be able to get marijuana, but it does matter for the youth, and research does show that it matters.
In Colorado Springs, Peter Choi, News 5.
The attorney for the dispensary says they are considering a lawsuit against the ordinance. This is not the first time voters in Colorado Springs have weighed in on recreational cannabis sales. In November of 2022, 54% of voters rejected a similar measure to allow the sale. Colorado Springs voters will also be deciding on whether or not to extend a sales tax used to pay for road projects. It's about 5 cents on every $10 you spend. It's known as 2C. And if you're new to the area, it may not be familiar vocabulary. News 5's Bill Folsom is looking into just what happens with your 2C dollars.
When you hear the term 2C, it's about repaving roads in Colorado Springs. The goal of 2C is a smoother ride on city streets. Back in 2015, a lot of roads were a mess, and city leaders went to voters with the 2C ballot question. It asked for a sales tax increase with the money earmarked for road improvements. Documented yearly list of priority roads. The money is for repaving existing roads, not building new ones. Along with putting down a fresh layer of asphalt, failing sidewalks and gutters get replaced.
If you have bad curb and gutter, that water just goes underneath the pavement and then degrades it a lot faster. So we make sure we repave, and then we also address the curb and gutter and any concrete deficiencies before that.
When the work started, the busiest city roads topped the priority list of projects. Close to 25% of Colorado Springs roads have been repaved. That's around 1,700 lane miles with another 6,600 to go. Close to a decade of paving is in the history books. Whether it will continue is up to voters in November. In Colorado Springs, Bill Folsom, News 5.
The author of the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights, or TABOR, is suing the city of Colorado Springs over this 2C ballot initiative. He says it violates the city's charter amendment. Douglas Bruce says the ballot measure itself doesn't show the total cost of this sales tax or its financial history as required by TABOR and the city's charter. Bruce is asking the judge to remove the issue from the ballot before November's election. Should Colorado change its primary election system? That is up for you to decide. Ahead on this special edition of News 5, we're breaking down the ranked choice voting ballot initiative and a look at a few of the 14 questions. Yes, 14 statewide questions you'll be voting on. Colorado voters are going to be busy this election. In addition to all of the political offices on the ballot, you'll be deciding on 14 statewide ballot issues. We'll have in-depth coverage on all of these issues in the coming weeks here on News 5, but here's a quick look at a few of those 14 questions you'll need to do the research on to decide. Well, one ballot issue could have a big impact in the way our elections are run in Colorado. Ranked choice voting and open primaries are on the ballot. It would allow all voters to vote in primaries regardless of party affiliation or if they're an unaffiliated voter. Places all candidates on the same ballot, then the top 4 vote getters move on to the general. It's something City Council members Nancy Henjum and David Lineweber support.
I feel like we need more voice for the voters in the way we do our democracy currently. Right now, it's either the really extreme far right or the really extreme far left. Seems to occupy all that space, and there's a whole bunch of us in the middle that just want to get things done.
City Council is a nonpartisan office. Now, this ballot initiative is drawing criticism. The Colorado Democratic Party opposes the proposal. State Chair of the Republican Party, Dave Williams, has also come out against it. Minor parties also fear it could leave them out of the general elections. Our Brett Forrest spoke with the Green Party of Colorado.
What you're going to find is those who have access to those resources and those who are interested in protecting their corporate interests, they're going to fund the candidates that best align with them.
Opponents also fear an open primary system would only advance all Democrats or either all Republicans to a general election ballot. One of the statewide questions that could have a big impact on veterans with disabilities, it's asking if a property tax exemption should be extended to those classified by the VA as being unemployable because of a disability. Currently, a veteran must be considered 100% disabled to qualify for this exemption.
Yeah, it'd be definitely like a financial relief to pay less property tax as a disabled veteran on a fixed income.
Our Lindsay Jensen spoke with Philip Howe, an Army veteran who says he would qualify if this passes. Here's what would change. Veterans who qualify would be eligible for up to a $100,000 reduction on their property taxes. So if they have a $500,000 home, it'd be taxed as a $400,000 home. The exemption would go into effect in January of 2025 if this passes. We'll be right back. We have a follow-up to a story we've been following for months. The state of the Republican Party in Colorado. Last week, an El Paso County judge ruled a vote to remove party chairman Dave Williams was not valid. Here's Brandon Richard with a reaction to the ruling and what this means for the party.
Well, it's certainly a setback for Republicans who are hoping to have Dave Williams removed as chairman of their party. Williams, on the other hand, taking a victory lap and threatening to retaliate against those who tried to have him removed. In a 21-page ruling, El Paso County District Judge Eric Bentley said an August 24th vote to remove Dave Williams as chair of the Colorado Republican Party wasn't valid. At that meeting, members of the party's Central Committee also voted to replace Williams with Eli Bremer.
We're very confident we followed the rules. We did everything right. We got the job done today.
But the judge says the party's bylaws require a vote of 3/5 of the entire Central Committee to remove an officer. Because not enough members were at that meeting, he says Williams remains the rightful party chair.
It was a little disappointing, but I wasn't completely surprised either. I knew it could go either way.
Voldemar Archuleta, a GOP congressional candidate and president of the Colorado Log Cabin Republicans, was one of the many in his party who hoped to see Williams removed as chair, following multiple controversies, including Williams sharing anti-LGBTQ messages. He says while he's disappointed with the ruling, Republicans should focus on November's election.
We need to get out there and talk to the people and win some elections. And, next spring we can regroup and talk about where do we go from here with leadership in the future.
In a statement, Williams said the majority of our state party always knew that none of the officers were rightfully removed or replaced by a fringe minority faction just because they screamed the loudest. While we will seek legal accountability against these failed usurpers, the rest of our state party must be united to defeat the radical Democrats with the remaining time we have left before November. Bremer says he and his legal team are still sorting through the judge's decision and looking at their options. Brandon Richard, News 5.
Democrats currently hold a supermajority in the state House and a near supermajority in the state Senate, and all statewide offices are currently held by Democrats in Colorado. Even with El Paso County growing, Republicans still hold most offices here. I caught up with some local Democratic leaders to learn where they see the state of the party going.
So El Paso County Democrats, I am pleading with you. I am pleading with you, do not sleep.
In a ballroom at a hotel in southwest Colorado Springs, local Democrats are feeling optimistic about November.
Folks are so excited. It's the momentum that we've seen with candidates like Barack Obama.
This is the biggest fundraiser for the party, rubbing elbows with elected officials and political hopefuls on the ballot in November.
By the way, the El Paso County Democrats are the most important Democrats in the state of Colorado.
Statewide, Democrats have dominated in Colorado lately, but El Paso County is considered a Republican stronghold, with Republicans holding all countywide offices and most state legislative seats. But Democrats see an opportunity for them to make gains here come November.
El Paso County is changing. It's becoming younger.
it's becoming more diverse.
John Mickus is a former chair of the county party. He recognizes the makeup of the electorate is largely unaffiliated.
Throughout Colorado, there is, in all counties, a very, very high number of unaffiliated voters. It's part of the landscape in Colorado. And what that means is that the political parties have to work harder.
As far as El Paso County, I think people count us out, but every election we're gaining more and more ground.
Misha Smith is the current chair. She points to 2020 as part of the reason Democrats see a path to victory. In 2020, President Donald Trump won El Paso County, but not by as many votes as he did in 2016.
We're going to see that, I think, maintained here. I think a lot of folks are saying no to Donald Trump.
As both political parties are finding their way in Colorado, the largest voting bloc in the state doesn't belong to either one. It's caught the attention of national media outlets like Politico. And next Thursday, October 10th, the Greenberg Center for Learning and Tolerance is hosting a panel with David Siders, editor for Politico, to talk about Colorado Springs' changing political landscape. I'll be sitting on this panel alongside Anthony Carlson, a local political strategist, Dick Wadhams, a former GOP state chair, and City Council member Nancy Henjum. It is free to attend. It's going to be at the N Center for the Arts. You see all the details there on your screen. But thanks so much for joining us for this special edition of News 5 after the debate. Our programming continues after the break with Scripps News. But as always, you can find your favorite local news and weather whenever you want it. All you have to do is check out our streaming apps. You can scan the code right here on your screen, take you to our News 5 app for Apple and Android devices, and streaming on Roku, Fire, Apple, or Android TV. All of these apps free to download and use. Have a good night, everyone. See you later.